Hello and welcome to Bhagavad Gita study. Today we will study the 44th verse from chapter 2. I am reading from Sadhak Sanjeevani. Although for the study of this verse in the beginning, I did look at Tattva Vivechani. Bhogaishvarya prasaktanam taya apahruta chetasam vyavasayatmika buddhihi samadhau na vidhiyate. Those whose minds are carried away by such flowery words, who are attracted towards pleasures and who are deeply attached to pleasure and prosperity, cannot attain the determined intellect concentrated in God. Previously, we saw Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, which is a cultivated, concentrated mind, which is needed for anything but God realization in particular. And then Lord goes along to say that those who are extremely attached to pleasures will not be able to cultivate that kind of buddhi, which is concentrated mind. Taya apahruta chetasam. Their minds are carried away by such flowery language that there is great pleasure in heaven, there are celestial damsels, a blissful garden, and there is nectar, etc. You have to notice something here. Lord is not even speaking about this worldly pleasures. He is speaking about in previous verse, which if you go to the previous verse, you will see that, some of our karma kanda, Veda promises you if you do good deeds, you're going to go to heaven, and this heaven consists of all sorts of beautiful angels and whatnot, girls and blissful garden, etc. Those flowery speeches attract some people, and they start doing lot of karmas for this reason. Karmas in the sense Vedic rituals. So Lord is not even speaking about this. He's speaking about the second level. I would consider that even better than where we are, right? We are still in this very much physical world, and it's all sorts of pleasures and enjoyments. We are still there, but Lord speaks about those who are actually believing those words and working towards heaven. There is no use working towards heaven or working towards a better life, the so-called better and settled life here. There is no use for both, because both are illusory. They don't exist. It's not going to carry us very much. Whether it exists or not is upon philosophical outlooks, but both of them do not give permanent peace. That's what Lord is getting at here, that there is no use there. If your mind is getting carried away by a promise of good life here in this world or even in the heaven, right? Bhogeshwarya Prashaktanam. Pleasures of five senses: sound, touch, color, taste, smell, comfort to the body, and desire for respect and praise are bhoga. Accumulation of money and material to enjoy these worldly pleasures is called Aishwarya. Those who cling to pleasure and prosperity are called Bhogaishwarya Prasaktanam. Such people are called demoniacal Asura. In Sanskrita, Asu stands for life breath, and he who wants to maintain life breath is an Asura. So it's pretty much demoniacal to just think that this alone is enough for my soul to attain peace. That's all there is to it. If you think worldly pleasures and all this wealth and everything is going to keep you happy, that's a bottomless pit. What happens if you just poke a hole in a pot and keep pouring water? It's just going to keep on dripping. Nothing is going to happen there. It's that kind of an attitude. Vyavasayatmika buddhihi samadhau na vidiyate. Such people who instinctively cling to pleasure and prosperity cannot attain the determinate intellect to realize God, because their intellect has become impure. Similarly, the people who have pride for their being learned by acquiring the worldly arts or science or knowledge, etc., also cannot attain the determinate intellect to realize God. So if it's not physical things, materialistic things like money, some people get caught up in this whole intellect business. I'm there's a PhD, I'm double PhD. Those things are probably just going to help you get a job, or just run your life. What happens to your soul? That is the whole question. This entire book is about soul after all. So it says that if you are spending all your energy, that mind is scattered already, it has become impure by going behind those things, then when is it that you're going to attain uh, concentrated intellect to realize God? That's what Vyavasayatmika Buddhi is. Cultivated, concentrated mind, just prioritizing God everywhere. So here he says something noteworthy. All gracious God, by his grace, has bestowed discrimination upon human beings so that they may attain God or salvation. But human beings give a cold shoulder to this discrimination, cling to pleasures like birds and animals. They forget the enjoyment of pleasure is not the goal of human life, but its supreme object is the attainment of perfection, and all circumstances, whether favorable or unfavorable, they are placed in or means to attain God realization. Now, I've highlighted one thing. The fact is that worldly pleasures and object are not a real obstacle to God realization, but attachment to these is the main hindrance. So now, in this Bhogeshwarya Prashaptanam, Taya Apahrita Chetasam, the Taya Apahrita Chetasam is, flowery language. Aishwaryam and Bhogam. Bhogam is pleasure, Aishwaryam is money and such. So, wealth and such. So, those people who are attached to those two, that is the only problem here. That's what steals your intellect and buddhi, like mind, towards other things other than God. For example, doing your duty, going to a job, providing a comfortable life for your family is not the hindrance to God realization. What is actually the hindrance is that you become so attached to that process, is that you have forgotten your real goal. That's why Gita is so relevant here, that you have to still do what you're doing, but in the spirit of service to Lord. If you think you're going to work for Lord, and you probably set aside some money every month for causes, for causes that actually promote these things. For example, you could donate to a temple, whatever makes sense to you. Go to an orphanage and donate it, and buy Gita. That's another good thing to do, is to buy Gita and give it to people. I think one of our subscriber here has done that. He's from Nashik, and he's brought Gita and distributed it to people. That's a very good service for you to do out of your wealth that you are earning. So if you do service in that level, where you are still earning and still doing everything you need to do, provide a very comfortable life and good education for your kids, these are your responsibilities. You are doing them, but you're doing them as a service for Lord. That is the only possible way to God in the age of Kali Yuga. We are all attached to worldly pleasures and prosperity anyway, but how is that we are going to loosen that attachment? That's what I got out of this verse, that if you have too much attachment, you're not going to be able to concentrate your mind on Lord, and you're very, very reason for this birth is just that. So what I wrote is, what are my attachments to that prevent spiritual practice? What can I think from this verse that is taking me away from my practice or from developing a concentrated mind on Lord? We can list them. For example, I have a tendency to while away time, watching frivolous stuff. Entertainment is okay, but that cannot be my entire day. For example, I tell myself and I give myself a slack saying, hey, I have a very stressful job, I need entertainment. Good, but how much time are you spending on it? How much time are you spending on communing with the Lord? You do have to give some time to Lord and yourself, just you two. Otherwise, that relationship is not going to develop. In the beginning, we are not going to have a great concentration, to attain Lord. We are not going to come into these things with the single pointed approach, where I say I am going to prioritize Lord in everything. I do not want anything else. That's not possible in our case. But what we can do is to be aware of what are the things that I do that are wasting my time, where I could be doing so much more towards developing purity, so that I can develop this one pointed direction towards Lord. I can still definitely do that. I can minimize those activities and spend those 5 or 10 minutes I get to read Gita. And the second one is, how do I loosen that attachment? The answer is just one thing. My guru used to say there is no other way to attain purity of your mind other than doing sadhana. Sadhana is consistent practice, not just practice, but consistent practice. We have to start in small increments. That's the only way you can attain purity. Once your mind is pure, he's already said, Swami Ramsakdas has already said, why they are not able to attain that one-pointed intellect is their mind has become impure. How did it become impure? Mind is being attached on other things. How am I going to get it to be purer? Because I'm not a saint, of course. There will be impurities. The only way to do that is just scrubbing your brass pot every time it gets dirty. It has to be done. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa also gives this analogy where you have to scrub certain, like silver, you have to scrub it after it becomes black. It does become black because of its connection with oxygen, right? So with our connection with the world is going to make our minds impure. You have to every day dedicate some amount of time for practice, sadhana. Your sadhana can look like puja. Your sadhana can look like, reading the scriptures. Your sadhana could be mentally repeating the name of the Lord, which is highly recommended, doing japa. And these things give you purity. Slowly. It doesn't have to be today or tomorrow. It takes lifetimes. But every day we have to be aware that if we are walking towards that path, am I one step closer or one step backward? It could take lifetimes, remember, to attain this kind of purity and prioritizing Lord in front of everything else. But every day of this lifetime should be at least a small step towards that. That's what we are trying to get from this verse. Where is my Bhogeshwarya Prashaktanam? So the sum total of all this still boils down to practice. And Swami Sarvapriyananda has said that there are three things that the mind goes. There is a restless mind, there's an impure mind, and there's one more. So for a restless mind, Jnana Yoga is recommended. For an impure mind, Karma Yoga is recommended, and things like that. So everything from Gita, like it has to be done in combination. You cannot say, I'm just a karma yogi, I'm going to just do my job as a service to the Lord, and I'm not going to practice any bhakti or jnana, sit and meditate or do any kind of spiritual sadhana like japa or reading the scriptures. I'm not going to do any of those. This alone will purify me. Not possible. In Kali Yuga, it is not possible. For some, it may be because they practiced it in previous lives. We should always do everything in combination. And I would go as much as to say, like one step further, for this particular thing, for us not to become Bhogeshwarya Prashaktanam, what's going to help us at this stage is more 80% of bhakti and 20% of jnana and 10% of karma. Does it mean that in 8 hours of your work time, are you going to do 6 hours of bhakti and only 2 hours of work? That doesn't mean anything like that. It means that in your composition of the day, you practice bhakti in every way you can. Those 8 hours you're doing karma, which is your office work or housework or whatever you do, that during that karma, as much as you can remember the Lord, you remember the Lord and tell yourself, this is dedicated to you. Today's my work is dedicated to you. Just keep doing that in the morning and before you enter the workplace, and after you finish your work, you say, today everything, all the anger and whatever happened in the office, dedicated to you. Keep doing that, and then that is bhakti. That is bhakti. So with karma, you're also doing bhakti, which is amazing, which will give you amazing results. That's what I get out of this, that the Lord is saying. So this is a beautiful verse, and we will look at more verses this way in a month, because I'm taking a break for a month for an upcoming trip, and I will be back only in August. I will post after that. I hope you're all reading the Gita, and I just wanted to conclude this particular video that if some of us are in a state where we are not doing anything else, but we are only doing Gita reading, please do, because any day you have touched Gita is a successful day. I am not speaking only to the Hindus, those who are attracted to this beautiful book, yes, but others that are in the Dharma already. You have an added advantage that there is something that's handed to you this way. There are 15,000 things like Ashtavakra Samhita, there is Dridrishya Viveka, there is Viveka Chudamani, there are umpteen number of books, Bhagavatam, everything that is dedicated to this. But holding Gita is such a blessing. Do not leave it. Do not leave it even for a minute. Once you touch it once, make sure you go back to it again. If you cannot do it for like 15 days or so, go back to it. Tell yourself you'll go back to it, start again. It always gives you. Gita always gives. If you just remember this and continue your practice, you will be very successful and blissful. Most of all, success is something, but bliss is just a step more than that. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will soon meet you after a month with another video. There's an upcoming announcement that I'm giving a Tattva Vivechani away for my 100 subscribers milestone. I actually wanted to do it at 90 itself, because I did not expect these many subscribers. I really thank you for the support. So once I get back, I'm hoping it would be 100. Even if it's not, after my trip, I'm going to give away a Tattva Vivechani to one of my subscribers here. Randomly, I'll pick and give away a Tattva Vivechani. I hope the Gita goes to somebody that actually really loves the message and respects the book as his own life. Thank you, and bye-bye.